So now let's discuss how to change the order of integration. So we're going to look at an example. Sketch the region whose area is represented by the integral from 0 to 2 y squared to 4 dx dy. So in order to figure out the region, we need to look at the bounds on the integral. So here, 0 to 2, that corresponds to y. So y is between 0 and 2. And then these bounds correspond to x. So x is between y squared and 4. So I'm going to look at y squared equals x. And y is positive. So this corresponds to, and if you solve for y, you would get y equals plus or minus the square root of x. But because y is positive, we're only going to take the top function, square root of x. So start off with y being 0, x is 0. And if y is 2, then x, so look at your top bound for y. If y is 2, then x would be 4. So here's my square root graph. And so y goes from 0 to 2, and then x, so x is between the function and and x equals 4. So the region I'm looking at is right here. And really the way you can kind of picture it is, because of the order that I have this integration, I'm looking at this horizontally here. X is between y squared and 4, and y goes from 0 to 2. So now let's say that we want to change the order of integration. So we want to have y first and then x. We want to have dy dx, and the question is what goes here and here? Well, remember, for your outside variable, which is x now, your bounds are always constant. So look at x in your region. What's the smallest x's? X is 0 here. What's the largest? X is 4. So the bounds on the outside, I know x is between 0 and 4, so that's what goes on the outside here, 0 to 4. Now for y, because we're changing the order of integration, instead of looking at this horizontally, we should look at it vertically. What's the smallest y is? Well, you're going to look at this as like top and bottom. So the bottom is y equals 0. And the top, if you solve for y, we said it was the square root of x. So there are my bounds for y. Y goes from 0 to square root of x. So when you're flipping, when you're changing the order of integration, you should probably start with the outer bounds, just because you know those are constant, and then figure out the inner bounds. And we're not going to compute these integrals, but I will say if you compute them, you're going to get the same answer because you're finding the same area. And you will get the same area. And that area that you should calculate would be 16/3.